Alex here. This video is about a very new type of device. Well, PEMF, Pulsed Electromagnetic Frequency, has been around for 40 years, okay? Starting in Europe, actually, again, 40 years ago. But this product that I'm about to introduce is a product that it's never been quite packaged with something that we all know about. And this is aimed for the animal market, basically dogs and cats. I'm going to show you in a second. So right here, we all know about doggy beds. Nothing is, this is not a breakthrough technology here, by no means. This is a great, super comfortable memory foam type of doggy bed. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But what do we have here? What we've done here is essentially this particular doggy bed is perfect because we can unzip the bottom right here. And there we go. And this PEMF device is one of the better devices out of Russia. Russia actually, if we go back in historically and look at all the research and scientists, they have always been ahead by the United States and other countries when it comes to electromagnetic, just studies on electromagnetics in general. Probably have surpassed everybody by at least 20 years of research. In the last, I'd say, 15 years, however, some of these other countries have really caught up with them. But essentially, as you see what I'm doing here is I'm just simply putting it into the base and I'm zipping it up. Okay? Fits absolutely perfectly. It took a while to find the manufacturer and find the right doggy bed or cat bed where this was going to fit perfectly. And so this is pretty much how you would set it up if it came to you in the mail. And now as your pet lays here, and of course this can be used on larger beds if you need a larger bed, or even, yeah, I mean there's all sorts of different designs depending on the size of your pet. But essentially it's perfect that all the coils are aligned, and as the animal lays on its stomach, it's going to be running the full length of the animal. Okay, and the actual Gauss on this is somewhere around 200, quite potent, so it's plenty of power. And remember, if you don't know this, these types of electromagnetic waves actually do go through many different types of materials, so it definitely does pass through this, if anybody just doesn't know, okay, if you haven't. And again, PEMFs are a little bit of a cutting-edge technology, and a little bit more advanced to understand than a lot of other things out there. So I'm just kind of stating something that I know is obvious because I've studied it for a while, but people might not know it passes through all sorts of different materials, including the, mammal and human body. All right, so what do I have here now? With the purchase, what else comes with this? You also get this sort of cycle timer. So I don't know if you've seen that there's ways to shut off and on electrical devices with a timer. Well, this cycle timer, they use it for growing plants and things like that. You can do a few settings on how long you want the device to run, as well as how, essentially, when you want it to shut off and then turn back on again and go back to running your full treatment time again. Okay, so it goes off and on and off and on and off and on. Here's also just a quick button that you can click, and it can either shut it off immediately and turn it back on again. Why do we supply something like this? Simple. Because essentially your pet's going to be sleeping or laying on this. If they do the longer sleep cycle of 6 hours, let's say, or 8 hours, or yourself, you're going to want to keep on this thing cycling on and off. And I wish we could just plug it in and it just stays on the whole time, but with this particular PEMF unit, it shuts off after 20 minutes. So that's why we supply that cycle timer. That's the quick, easy fix, essentially, that you can keep on turning it on every time it cycles off and goes through a 20-minute cycle. So it's a very simple device to use, and when you know that it's actually on and active, you don't have to unzip the whole thing and look for the flashing LEDs on the coils. You're just simply going to see that when it is actually in treatment mode, you have the power button here turned on, meaning it's ready on standby. And then you also have the work button. That means that it's treating when that light is on as well. So you have a green light and like a yellowish sort of light, basically, and that's how you know when you plug it in. So This device is very unique in that it has multiple coils as far as PEMF devices are concerned. And definitely on my site, check out PEMF and learn a little bit more about what it is, why it's so good. I do provide some information on the site. But it's unusual that it has multiple coils again. So most PEMF devices, you will either have 1 or 2 coils, or sometimes they'll have very large coils. This design was planned very carefully from the standpoint of it can treat kind of the full length of somebody's spine or even an animal's spine, and treat basically, it's like a whole body unit really, because with its distance of magnetic field, electromagnetic field that it puts off, it really is able to target all the major core organs of the body, the spine. So normally when we see a PEMF sort of device that is full body, when it goes by that term, normally you'll see traditionally, for humans anyways, like a mat. It looks like a large rectangular mat. Might run the length of like a massage table, okay, in terms of... And inside of there, then there'll be some either large coils, flat coils, or multiple coils. Those units are generally going to run anywhere from like 5,000 up to 30 on the high end, okay? Full body units are generally pretty expensive. And there's one thing is you can't really sleep with them. They're not really recommended for sleeping. There's just a few PEMF devices that are okay and therapeutic to run during the evening. And generally, one of the things that you look for is a device that is putting out frequencies and more ringer type of frequencies. So on my site, you'll see the difference between PEMF devices and ringer devices. But essentially, you want a PEMF device, if you're going to sleep with it, that is getting into the lower bandwidth of frequency waves, hertz waves that we measure. You've all heard of like alpha, theta, delta, beta waves, things like that, right? When you're sleeping, you're generally going into more of the alpha waves, and you're going to theta and delta. If you don't want sleep to be disturbed, you really have to have a device that exclusively is creating frequencies in the lower hertz, okay, of like at least alpha, right? A low alpha, or theta or delta are fine, okay? And actually, what they found in studies is that in the alpha range of like say 6 to 10, 6 is pretty low for alpha, but 6 to 10 range is where they see especially a huge enhancement, acceleration, efficiency, cell metabolism, mitochondrial entrainment, and then just all these kind of downstream results, okay? But the magic range, if you will, is in more that alpha range of things. It's just the healing sort of zone, if you will. Okay, so this device, the Almag from Russia, is putting off frequency or in like the low 6, okay, low 6s. And it actually, and the thing is that it's not all just one set frequency, but it is within more, again, like the low 6 range. And each coil will slightly put off a different alternating frequency, but again in that low alpha. So as it pulses through each one very rapidly and at slightly varied frequencies in the alpha, what they found basically, and by the way, that's very unique compared to most PEMF devices. What they found essentially by doing that sort of pulse rhythm and alternating it just a little bit, it basically has a more of an efficacy. The body doesn't get too used to any one frequency, and it continues to have a very more pronounced stimulatory effect. And again, they've been researching, and they developed this thing over a long period of time, a few decades of research. It's kind of culminating in a device like this. So while it's very old technology in a way, it's also still very cutting edge compared to what else is out there. So we have done some analysis. We have done a lot of runs and test runs with animal clinics, pets, that are at home, as far as does it aid in helping them fall asleep, things like that. And it does. So that's another thing that was tricky to find the right PEMF device. Again, when it comes to sleeping, most of them are producing frequencies that are way outside the range, way too high, essentially. And I'm not going to get into too much of the details, but it's important to fall asleep. So actually, what we found with this device was that it actually really helped animals fall asleep faster. And yes, again, this does work for humans, but that's a way to bring their brain waves very rapidly into a coherency of those low alphas, and that's a perfect segue right into sleep. For more restful sleep, animals, just as much as humans, can sometimes be too keyed up, too energized, don't want to go to bed. Or they might be in pain, discomfort. There can be a variety of reasons why they just don't fall asleep that easily. And then here's the other key is by running it all during the night, normally in sleep state, that's when our body really goes through a lot of regenesis processes. That's when the body really cleanses itself out. And so different sorts of organs are more active that have to do with revitalization of the whole system of the body. Again, that are more active in the nighttime, during the daytime. Again, just studying sleep science is very, very advanced. But to pair PEMF with sleep cycle is a very unique, interesting health hack, if you will. And so what we see is that there's a huge sort of, to put it very simply, enhancement of all the processes that are normally taking place during sleep. It just increases the potency and effectiveness of everything, again, that's happening then. Also, one thing that I've noticed that that's kind of unique that it does is that it does a very huge upscale in cellular oxygen metabolism, or the oxygen efficiency of cells majorly increases, as well as mitochondrial entrainment by using one when an individual or an animal is sleeping. And again, that's documented basic PEMF information, and so we would expect to probably see something like that during sleep. I'm talking about that because normally when we sleep, it's good. The body repairs, it regenerates, it's important, right? But at the same time, animals and humans have a lot of other things in the body that don't necessarily belong there, toxins and whatnot. And also in general, oxygen levels in the tissues do take a little bit of a decline when you're sleeping. Think about it, it's very obvious. You're not moving around. Okay, the increase of circulation, the lymphatic system getting very stimulated when you're moving around or exercising, which is even taking it to the next level. So wouldn't it be great if during sleep we could actually increase some of the intracellular and extracellular fluid exchange, again, which is what we normally see during exercise or just movement in general, and if we could keep tissue oxygen levels higher, even though, again, respiration rates have greatly slowed down. Remember, it's so greatly slowed down, the body withdraws some of the blood from the peripheral external parts of the body and brings more to the core body to keep the body warm. The temperature goes down a little bit. The rate of enzyme activity is decreasing. So by using PEMF in the evening, we can kind of improve these different parameters that normally we would only be able to improve upon those during the daytime through actual physical movement, when life is a little bit different. So in other words, this is a very good, efficient use of time for a very healing type of technology. And if you can get 6 hours, 4 hours even, 8 hours, okay, of therapy, that's a lot of therapy from a PEMF perspective. And if you think about it, if you were up, or your dog was up, your cat was up the whole rest of the day, never went back to that bed, that would still be a huge amount of treatment time accumulating that week and over months. Now, normally with most systems, again, they're not appropriate for sleeping really. And so people are using them. Animals, they do use them on animals. It's not as common, but those who are more cutting edge with supporting animals definitely do use it in their clinics. But normally, if you can't sleep with a PEMF device, you're going to be getting, in general, it's going to be shaped around your schedule, how often you use it. Most people use it for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an animal uses it for an hour. And with an animal, it's a little tricky, right? Because we can't say, all right, go to your bed and stay there for 45 minutes, right? Stay there for 2 hours. Don't go anywhere. I mean, of course, if you're well-trained, your animal, cats, forget about it, right? But, so by having it during sleep time, we know for sure that all animals sleep for some period of time, which is usually a fair amount of time. So it's a great, great way to really assist with the compliance factor, right? We don't have to worry about if our animal needs some sort of health support, trying to get up the treatment time. We know they're going to sleep again. So from that standpoint, it's a great tool. There's a lot of other types of good therapeutic sort of tools out there for animals. But again, it comes down to very limited treatment times because the compliance factor is a little more challenging, right, with an animal. So those are kind of just some of the brief points to touch on. If you want to get more in the nitty-gritty of the science, what it's doing, what kind of conditions it could help with, just based on studies that we've seen, I would just point out that a lot of the information that we draw upon, or that I could be educating you on, to field some of your questions, they're going to be pulled more from research with humans, okay? But we have to also keep in mind that, of course, there's great synergies and almost identical processes, biologically speaking, between animals and humans and mammals in general. I mean, look at all the studies using mice or rabbits, for example, right? Or monkeys. In general, again, I just want to point that out. I'm not sourcing always a slew of animal studies, even though I would point out that some of the core research with some PEMF technology and some of the original devices actually were done on a huge amount of animals and mice and that type of thing. And that's really much a lot of how it started, and then it transitioned more over time to research studies and tests with humans. Okay, but it actually really did start with a lot of animal tests. As far as testing on like dogs and cats, a little bit more popular with dogs and more popular with smaller animals. But again, when we look at how PEMF works and we understand how it works on a cellular level, once you get that piece, you understand that part of the equation, how it does what it does. It's very easy to then understand and transfer that knowledge to, the cells in a dog and the cells in a human, if we take it down to that cellular level, indeed that size, it's pretty near identical. Very, pretty much functioning the same way. A lot of the same processes are happening. And then so we can very just quickly understand, of course, PEMF would be good for this condition. And you could look at it both ways. If it's good for this condition for an animal, inflammation in this sort of area of the joints, would it be good for inflammation in those types of areas in a human? Sure. I mean, sometimes we can source studies on both sides of the fence. Sometimes we can't, but again, we still have plenty of feedback subjectively in the field. When I say that, I'm talking about just the tens of thousands of users across the globe, all the feedback from practitioners using it in their clinics, in their centers, in their practices, you name it, okay? Tens of thousands who have been treated, okay, with these types of devices. But this device we found also for the price, really when it comes to value of what it can do, is extremely reasonable for therapeutic efficacy. You won't see a lot of fancy features. In fact, all you'll see is a power adapter and a plug. You can plug it in, and it already has its programs in there, and those programs you cannot adjust or change, but that's okay, because it does a good chunk of what we expect PEMF to do. And so for the price, you can't really go wrong, especially for a full body unit. Anything that's under 1,000, that's really good if it has some good efficacy behind it and you can treat your whole body. Now, we do have some, users that have their pets or at their clinics, and if they want to just do a quick treatment, the actual pet owner doesn't have the bed, let's just say, or the device. If you were a practitioner watching this, let's say you wanted to do a couple treatments on a pet while they were there at your clinic, you could. You can easily attach this and wrap a band around the torso just to hold it in place. There's different configurations. You can wrap it around the body. You can do it the full length of the spine. You can just use a couple of the coils and put it in between a little paw. I mean, there's really it's very versatile. Just the way this is shaped is extremely unique. There's no other PEMF that has this sort of coil configuration. And then you can just do some localized treatment again, or full body treatment. Again, it's easy to wrap around while they're there at the clinic. But again, if you are a practitioner watching this, the goal is that as you start to treat and get results in your practice, in your clinic, naturally, we would expect that the pet owner is going to want to get more treatment time and use something like this in their home. And so, you can start out with the rental program, where after the pet is recovering from some sort of surgery or procedure, or just needs more therapy, you can either rent this whole system out to your patients, to your customers, and if they like the results that they're seeing, that'd be a great time to basically sell them the device. So this is really, and even if you're just a consumer and you just want to have a quick check and see if there's a clinic in your area that might already be renting these out, it's a great way to just try the device and see how your animal responds before they commit to purchasing something. It's a really great opportunity. I'll point that out because there's a lot of PEMF devices out there, and I sell and I work with all sorts of PEMF brands, but I can tell you that the full body systems, it's common for some of the more expensive ones, $5,000, $10,000, etc., for people to go through 2 to 3 to 4 different systems before they actually find one that, I really like the settings on this one, and I was able to figure this out and get good results. That's why commonly you'll see that for a lot of those expensive units, they have 6 months of a trial period. That's a long period of time, and they do that strategically on purpose because sometimes their systems to figure out and fiddle with them and get feedback, and maybe I should change the setting, can be complicated. It's infinitely more complicated when you're dealing with animals because they can't give you feedback. Say, I really liked that setting last night. Could you use that a little bit more tonight? That'd be great if we had that feedback. But some of these other systems are so multifaceted. There's just too many things to change, and it's just far too complicated to assess results with animals. Period. Okay, let alone humans. Why they have a 6-month trial period on a lot of them. This has a far shorter trial period, the Almag, because it's extremely easy to assess efficacy after 30 days. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? That's very easy to figure out. So this is something that you definitely can try out. Again, within a month, that should be enough time to start to notice results. If not, again, there's a good trial period on it. It makes a great rental program. And this is something that's just so easy to incorporate with your daily schedule and your animal's schedule, where we know that they can always enjoy a really comfortable bed. And yes, you can always put this into an existing bed if you do have one, if you just want to get this device by itself, absolutely. You want to put it under a mattress, or maybe they like to lay on a sofa all the time. They don't have to sit in a particular bed. You can always just hook this up and put it. And again, remember, it passes through a lot of material. It has a lot of gauze behind it. So yeah, you could put it under a sofa or something like that if they like to hang out in that area. If they like to hang out at the end of your bed and they sleep there, just lay this, whatever position they like to be under, underneath your mattress, and just have it run there. And based on where your feet are at, you might actually get some additional benefits yourself through your feet. And remember that your feet that have a ton of points, neurologically speaking, and from an acupunctural perspective, to every organ in your body. So there's definitely some research and a lot of feedback out there over the years between some sort of synergy between acupuncture points, meridian points, different areas of the nervous system, again, connecting to different organs and points in the feet, reflexology, and PEMF technology. So, hey, that's a great perk, right? If your animal likes to sleep at the end of your bed, just put it under there. Again, it's got enough of a field that it puts out to actually broadcast into a little bit of your feet. Now, if you do want to use it in a mattress type of situation, and you have a thick mattress, and you want more benefits yourself, and you're trying to treat, let's say, maybe your partner, somebody staying in your bed, or also your animals, plural, right? There is another device, just ask me about it, that's a little bit more designed for broadcasting a larger field. And that's really good for using under your mattress, essentially. And so I would probably recommend that more in certain situations. But other than that, thanks for watching. I know it was a lengthy video, but again, this is some incredible breakthrough technology that even to this day is still not that widely known in the United States and Canada. Definitely much more widely known and used in Europe. 40 years it's been around, okay? Some of you have heard of laser therapy. Tons of chiropractors, therapists use that. It's only been around 25 years, and that's probably more mainstream. There's been a lot of resistance with big pharma, medical, AMA, all that kind of stuff in the United States, Canada, that region. So that's mainly what has kind of really slowed down the more widespread knowledge of this type of technology. But for sure, if you really want to do your due diligence as a home user or as a practitioner, you always like to see studies. There's definitely a lot of studies, a whole lot of them. Very rigorous, double-blind clinical studies, the whole 9 yards that are out there if you want to investigate them. So this technology, again, is very well backed up. It's been around a long, long time. So I'm happy to introduce this to you. I'm happy to introduce this new product on the market, which has never, again, been done before, and that will be extremely therapeutic for animals everywhere, providing them relief and healing therapeutically from really just a whole myriad of conditions and diseases. Of course, I have to be a little careful. I'm not going to name any disease whatsoever because the FDA would be all over that. But we can certainly discuss things a little bit more privately over the phone. Thanks for watching.